Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, broke bombshell news about the 2020 election last night. I don't know if you guys saw this. Of course, the mainstream media is ignoring this, per usual, unsurprising. We were called domestic terrorists, by the way, when we questioned the 2020 election, so they cannot, in good faith, now report anything associated with any kind of meddling that happened in the 2020 election, or else what makes them domestic terrorists per their own definition. This is what the FBI reported about, or this is what Kash Patel posted on Monday evening. According to Just the News, FBI Director Kash Patel on Monday evening turned over to Congress an intelligence report raising concerns that China had mass-produced fake U.S. driver's licenses to carry out a scheme to hijack the 2020 election with fake mail-in ballots for Democrat Joe Biden. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? The FBI director gave Congress an intelligence report, so a report by the intel communities, about China creating fake U.S. driver's licenses, a whole bunch of them, to hijack the 2020 election in favor of Joe Biden. Wow. Just the News says the newly declassified intelligence reports from August of 2020, so that is what, August, September, October, that's 3 months before the 2020 election, were not corroborated or fully investigated, and instead were recalled from intelligence agencies at about the time that then FBI Director Chris Wray testified that there were no known plots of foreign interference ahead of the 2020 election in which Biden defeated Donald Trump. Okay, so let's just stop there for a second. We have an intelligence report, meaning a report put together by intelligence officials, and this was before the 2020 election, that said that China was producing driver's license in order to fake votes, and yet this was not fully investigated? What the heck? Why was this not fully investigated? And not just why wasn't this fully investigated, probably the reason is ideology, right? The people inside the intel community didn't want to investigate this because they were in the tank for Joe Biden. So this is what I want to know. Somebody, some person, or people, I suppose, but some person ultimately made the decision to not fully investigate this. There was somebody who said, this intelligence report is in front of me. I can choose whether I'm going to investigate it or whether I'm going to not. I'm going to choose no. Who was that person? Who chose not to fully investigate this? Because I understand you get an intelligence report and it's not fully corroborated. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that it's true. You want to go ahead and investigate that. But if you were given an intelligence report that wasn't fully corroborated, but this was the allegation, why would you not investigate this to find out whether or not it was true? And not only was this never fully investigated, because you might hear an excuse like, oh, they had a lot going on. It just accidentally died on someone's desk somewhere. No. It was recalled from intelligence agencies. Okay. So we have a report then of humongous implication that China is trying to rig the election in favor of Joe Biden, that they're bringing in fake U.S. driver's license for fake voter registrations, for fake ballots, for fake votes. And not only is this not corroborated, someone chooses not to fully investigate it. And what's worse, they actively pull this from the desk of anybody else who might want to investigate it and recall it without disproving it. Which means that the people that recalled it were actively interested in hiding this report. Because they didn't recall it after disproving it. They recalled it without disproving it. This is what Just the News says. The new documents were turned over to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, who had first raised concerns to the Bureau that the intelligence hadn't been fully vetted and instead was just dismissed, even though there was evidence of the fake licenses. So here's where it gets interesting. Kash Patel said, thanks to the oversight work and partnership of Chairman Grassley, the FBI continues to provide unprecedented transparency at the People's Bureau. To that end, we've located documents Chairman Grassley requested, which detail alarming allegations related to the 2020 U.S. election. Specifically, these include allegations of plans from the CCP to manufacture fake driver's licenses and ship them into the United States for the purpose of facilitating fraudulent mail-in ballots. Allegations which, while substantiated, were abruptly recalled and never disclosed to the public. In accordance with Chairman Grassley's request for documents, I've immediately declassified the material and turned the document over to the chairman for further review. Okay, Officials who have seen the documents told Just the News that the FBI had a relatively new confidential source who provided the information in the summer of 2020 that the Chinese government was manufacturing and exporting fake U.S. driver's license as part of a plot to create voter identities for Chinese residents living in the United States so that they could vote with fake mail-in ballots. Okay, so yes, it is I wouldn't call it a red flag. It is a cause to make sure that your information is corroborated if the information comes from one source and that source is a relatively new source. That's fine. I'm on board with that. Make sure that source is credible. Make sure the information brought by that source is credible. But here's the part. You could call it a smoking gun if you wanted. The intelligence source claimed that the plot was specifically designed to benefit Biden. They also said that the intelligence report was recalled within a few weeks and the allegations never fully investigated on the grounds that the source needed to be re-interviewed. Okay, again, that takes us back to the first question. Why wasn't this source re-interviewed? And don't tell me that it was just because this intelligence report was forgotten on the corner of a desk somewhere. Some person or people within the FBI actively made the decision not to re-interview this source. Now, why would they do that? Is it because they didn't think this source was credible? Is it because this source didn't provide any substantiating information for this very serious allegation? Well, no, because according to Just the News, another agency, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, had intercepted nearly 20,000 fake licenses around the time the intelligence came in a possible corroboration of the report. So here we have two gigantically contradicting pieces of information. That the FBI reportedly recalled this intelligence report because the source was a relatively new source and the information wasn't corroborated. The source needed to be re-interviewed. And so they recalled this report because the source hadn't been interviewed again. And yet at the same time, you have actual proof, evidence, corroboration of the claims in that report because Border Patrol had actually seized the fake U.S. driver's licenses that were being trafficked into the United States by the Chinese, just like the source had told the FBI in this report. Did the FBI, under Christopher Wray, during the summer of 2020, were they aware of the 20,000 fake driver's license that had been seized by Customs and Border Patrol? Were they aware that this report, which had been recalled, was actually substantiated by real, tangible, physical evidence of exactly the allegation that was documented in that report? Who was aware of this? Who in U.S. Customs and Border Patrol was aware of this? Who in Customs and Border Patrol told the FBI? Who at the FBI knew about these 20,000 fake driver's license? And again, who made the decision to recall, not just table, not just neglect to fully investigate, but to actively recall this report on what is the grounds of which is a stupid excuse that the new source hadn't been interviewed again yet. I'm sorry, that just doesn't cut it. The implications of 20,000 fake driver's license and 20,000 fake mail-in ballots could literally be the difference in one political candidate winning a presidential election or the other one appearing to win the presidential election. 20,000 fake mail-in ballots could make a difference in the outcome of a presidential election in our country. That's pretty serious. And this was tabled and ignored. Thank goodness for Chairman Grassley. Thank goodness Chairman Grassley is investigating this, because we have been gaslit for the past 5.5 years about what happened in the 2020 election. For goodness sakes, the people who raised their voices, the citizens who raised their voices in the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, after the election in November of 2020, and said, hey, something was shady. Something happened during the 2020 election. There was electioneering, there was rigging, there was cheating. Something was fishy, and we want to make sure that the integrity of our elections is sound because we want to trust our institutions. Those people were thrown in prison and denied due process. They were called terrorists. Some of those people killed themselves because of the targeting of the federal government based on their valid concerns about the integrity of the 2020 election. We've been stifled on in the algorithms on social media. We've been demonetized. We've been banned from social media platforms for questioning what happened in 2020. And now we just casually have evidence that the Chinese mass-produced 20,000 fake driver's license at the very least. That's just what was seized by Customs and Border Patrol. For goodness sake. Thank goodness for Chairman Grassley. We should not let this go. The people at the FBI, in the federal government, the swamp creatures, the deep staters who covered up this report, refused to investigate it, recalled it from intel agencies, neglected to re-interview this new source, ignored the evidence of Border Patrol seizing these licenses. Those people need to be dragged before Congress. Those people need to be held accountable. Those people committed a crime against you. They deserve perp walks and jumpsuits. Not out of revenge, not out of retribution, out of justice.